The 1990s. This series of stories I call A Day in the Life, because it's all about my life chapter during the 1990s while earning a living in the San Fernando Valley, Los Angeles, California. Whether it's about the Northridge earthquake or even the slow-speed chase that O.J. Simpson brought us all on, or the Bank of America in North Hollywood, that crazy shootout. All of these events and more I remember distinctly, and I'd like to share them with you. Come on along. As always, this posting of A Day in the Life is all about my life chapter during the 1990s while earning a living in Los Angeles, California. This particular piece involved the first Gulf War in Kuwait, around 1990, perhaps 91. Please don't get the wrong idea. This piece is in no way casting a negative light on our servicemen or scientists who work hard in the defense of our nation. This is only the perspective of a young, largely uneducated man in his late 20s, early 30s, sharing what he heard and saw directly from the people involved. Just a regular, unskilled guy making conversation with complete strangers who have chosen to put their lives in his hands on the roads of Los Angeles. During the late 1980s and early 90s, our shuttle service received regular scheduled pickups from La Cañada Flint Ridge, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL NASA. This is in California in the Los Angeles area. The trips would go from JPL to the Los Angeles International Airport. This was almost always a full van, which meant the fare and tips were usually pretty good, thus making this run a popular one among many of the drivers. I remember using my captive van audiences to improve my social and public speaking skills by engaging everyone on board in conversation on the current day's events. During peak traffic hours, the more my passengers were entertained and engaged with each other, the better the trip and the better the tips. This behavior came not only part of the job, but a habit I made. One morning trip from the JPL facilities, we had to take a detour due to a major vehicle collision in the downtown Los Angeles area. Heading west on the 210 freeway and transferring to the 405 south was really the long way considering our starting point. But the route with the shortest distance to our destination could have almost taken double the time it would take to complete the long way due to our wonderful traffic patterns here in the city of Los Angeles. Los Angeles is full of various landmarks, like the circular Holiday Inn building, and at the time, the young construction site for the new Getty Museum, both in the Sepulveda Pass on the southbound side of the 405 San Diego freeway. It never fails. Someone will have questions about one or both locations, spending that portion of the trip with heads tilted upward in the best possible manner in an attempt to obtain a good view. On two separate occasions, both with 6 or 7 passengers as per usual, the conversation turned to the events of the day, which at this time was the current military campaign in Kuwait. A few of the passengers knew each other, while others did not. From what I could tell, all at some point had worked on or had input on the Patriot missile project. Now imagine my shock and surprise when the discussion became about the reactions within the team upon confirmation that the system actually did what they designed it to do. Especially when they all spoke of high-fiving each other once there was visual evidence on CNN no less. Yes, according to both groups of passengers, confirmation that the defense system actually worked came from watching CNN. But when the topic came to how a group of Marines lost their lives while still in their barracks, I was dumbstruck. Shortly after the incident took place, our media here in the States reported it to be a direct hit from one of Hussein's Scud missiles. But later we learned that it was not a direct hit. The Patriot system did what it was designed to do. It worked. Now, what happened was, one of Saddam Hussein's Scud missiles took a direct hit from an American Patriot missile while flying over the Marine barracks, and it was the debris from both the Scud and Patriot missiles falling to Earth that just so happened to land right where the Marines were stationed. My passengers seemed to be startled by this revelation. Both van loads. To this day, I still find it difficult to believe that no one thought of that in advance. Remember, these are all real-life rocket scientists. The real deal, and apparently from the conversations I was privy to, not one of the 12 to 14 persons on my van considered the idea that if your target is at 10,000 feet, the remaining parts are going to fall the full 10,000 feet because gravity works. Mind you now, this is 2 separate trips with entirely different people on board. I guess they thought it would be like the old Galaxy video game. When the enemy ship is hit and explodes, the debris will just float away into space, then disappear into nothingness. If you're around my age, you'll remember the old Galaxy game. Does anyone remember that phrase, "It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out"? Yet these were real rocket scientists whom, for what I could determine on 2 separate occasions, hadn't thought of debris falling out of the sky. Now, fast forward to 2024. The Ukrainians love this defense system. Apparently, it works very well intercepting Russian hypersonic missiles. And from what I've been able to tell from looking on the internet, not a single Russian Kinzhal missile has reached Ukraine's capital since May 2023 due to the accuracy of the American Patriot missile system. Again, please don't get the wrong idea. This piece is in no way casting a negative light on our servicemen or scientists who work hard in the defense of our nation. This is only the perspective of a young, largely uneducated man in his late 20s, early 30s, sharing what he heard and saw directly from the people involved. Nothing more, nothing less.